Looks like you've been missing a lot of work lately.
I wouldn't say I've been missing it, Bob.
What would you say you do here?
God damn it. Bob, we love playing here tonight. My brother's ready.
It helps if you think of it as a game, Bob. Every game has a winner and a loser.
You must possess strength to inflict pain, Bob.
Hello, and welcome to episode 26 of the Two Bobs Cast. We are the Two Bobs. We're an A to Z rock and metal podcast. We go through every letter of the alphabet. We are stopping now at the letter P. Screeching halt at the P. And I'm here once again with my partner, esteemed colleague, the man of the hour, Mr. H. What's up, Mr. H? How you doing?
This hour?
Yeah.
What's going on? I'm doing good.
Hour and a half. You know, usually we
All right.
push it a little bit further than that, but
Man of the next
yeah,
foreseeable future.
that's right. That's right. Our evening together. So
Right.
yeah, happy Thanksgiving week.
Happy Thanksgiving. Yes, sir.
Excited. We were just on a few days ago, but we wanted to make sure to get our next episode in before
Hey,
the
back on
holiday.
track, man.
Yeah, we're
Saturday
good
to
now.
Tuesday. That's a tough turnaround.
That
I
is
don't
a
wanna
tough
do that very
turnaround.
often.
Well, luckily, we picked a band this week for P that we both really like. Really have a fonding for.
Yes.
Who we looking at this week, partner?
Pantera.
That would be Spanish Panther, correct? That's
I think that's Panthera.
Panthera.
Or no, is that Latin? I don't know.
I don't know what it is.
I know a tiger, like a Bengal tiger, is like Panthera tigris or something like that. I had a big poster for a while when I was a kid on my wall, and I had that on the bottom. I think I took it out of like a National Geographic. It was like a fold up, like centerfold thing, and I put it on my wall.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, that's the only reason I would know that. But anyhow,
all right. What you got on Pantera?
Pantera started in 1981 by the Abbott brothers, Darrell and Vinnie Paul from Texas. They went through some bass players here and there when they first started out. Darrell was 15 when it started. Vinnie was 17. They ended up settling on the guy Rex Brown, or Rex Rocker, at the time, on bass, and a guy named Terry Glaze. He played rhythm guitar for a little bit while they were trying some singers, and then they just settled on him as a singer, and it was just a 4-piece. So this was pre-Phil. So there'll be a lineup for the first three glam, kind of new wave of British heavy metal-ish inspired albums. Glaze and the band parted ways after that, and they found Phil, 18-year-old Phil Anselmo from New Orleans. But we'll get to that in a little bit. Put out a bit heavier edged album there at the end, but still the image and sound, it was definitely the 80s. The spandex and the hair, and they look so funny. But yeah, there's some interesting stuff here, that's for sure, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it's interesting for sure. I don't even think they recognize their first part of their catalog anymore. Like they don't
You're
even.
Correct. On their website, nowhere.
I saw an interview, I think, with Rex, who's like, dude, we are never re-releasing any of that stuff. We're never putting it on streaming. We're never gonna
play a song live off of any of those albums. Never ever. I wonder if they ever have. You know, outside of after 1990, I wonder if they ever played one of those songs ever again. It's pretty funny. Good stuff. Anyway, we will get to it. 1983, they put out their first album. So they're together in 81. They got some stuff together, and then they put out their first album, Metal Magic. It was 10 songs. There's not much info out there. It was produced and recorded at their father, Jerry Abbott's studio in Texas, called Pantego. That was the name of the studio. A lot of Texans recorded there. So it was kind of a famous place. People still kind of go and try to find out where it was now and take pictures there and stuff. But it's semi-famous. They gained a local following as many knew Darrell from him winning many a guitar playing competition, musician competitions, talent shows. Like most of them had to ban him because he was winning all of them and taking all the prize money and whatever they were giving away because he was just so good.
Yep.
So, but they never really got outside of playing live during this time. But yeah, this is definitely like a glam rock, glam metal album. I would say maybe if you really listen close, you'll hear a little Judas Priest in there, maybe, but it's mostly just kind of glam metal. My favorite songs off of this are "Tell Me If You Want It," "Widowmaker" has a nice riff and solo, and "Nothing On But the Radio" is pretty catchy and probably the best song on here for me. "Nothing On But the Radio." That's a decent, catchy tune. The Skippers, most of it is pretty forgettable, really. I have this as since we're rating these for real, I have this as a C- and an 8 out of 9. We're gonna rank 9 albums. So the 5 that everybody knows, and then these other 4 that some people may know, but most people probably don't. But it didn't sound particularly great. Nothing else really stands out as great on this at all. What did you think of Metal Magic from 19?
Before I get into Metal Magic, we have a question. John Novak says,
Ah,
was that centerfold on your wall, Mr. H?
it was, but it was a tiger.
Oh, well. Okay, well, we just had to clarify that. The tiger, guys, not anything else.
Oh, well, yeah, I probably had some of those too.
All right.
I think it was frowned upon in the establishment.
Okay. Yeah, that happens. You got to be careful.
Yeah.
Metal Magic. Yeah, I mean, it was okay. I had heard a few songs, I think, before on it. Definitely more than the next couple. So this is the one, I guess more had a reputation, probably because of that amazing artwork on the front that looks like my kid drew it.
Like 4th grader, 7th grader. Like, look at that
Yeah.
artwork, and you tell us, like, well, how old do you think a kid?
I almost want to lower that age. Like, I feel like that is like 2nd grader or
maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's crayon, watercolor, or something. It's something else, man.
So
yeah, it's pretty funny.
This album, I'm not going to say it's good because that would be absolutely ridiculous. But I'll tell you what, I had fun listening to it. It kind of sounded endearing, I guess, to me. Like, oh, look at these kids. You know, I mean, Dime was 16 when this came out, and Vinny was 19. So, I mean, listen to those riffs, and I was kind of impressed. Like, I guess I kind of put myself in their situation. Like, not a bad album for a young kids, and I'm sure we could come up with some big bands that were really young that came up with some good stuff. You know, like Metallica was really, really young when they did Kill 'Em All and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I get it. I don't know. when I'm listening to this, you could tell it's very amateurish, especially like the lyric writing, like "Ride My Rocket." Really, I mean, it's almost like cringy, some of it, but it's not like Phil gets any better with the cringiness. So
different kind of cringy.
Different kind of cringy, but yeah, I agree with you. I do like a few of the songs. I think Widowmaker is really good. I do like I'll Be All Right. I was singing along to that one too. A lot of it is forgettable, but you know, it's actually fun. I had a good time listening to it. I didn't get bored. It's less than 40 minutes, 10 songs. I mean, it's what you want in an album.
Yeah.
I have it as a C. Just right down.
Unless you're an Opeth fan.
Unless you're an Opeth fan.
That's not what you want in an album.
Right.
They don't make any of those.
That's right. Absolutely. I have this number 7. This was my favorite of the stuff done by Glaze. So yeah, I would say this was number 7, and I'll give it a C. Enjoy it. I don't think I probably would ever go back to it, but I enjoyed the one time I listened to it. Not bad.
All right. We move on the very next year. They put out 3 in 3 years right here. The next year was 1984. Projects in the Jungle. Another fine album cover.
Shoot.
That the poster that you thought I had on my wall, John, was the Farrah Fawcett one that everybody had. That was downstairs in the basement of the house we lived in. So it was there when we got there. My dad couldn't, I guess, bring himself to take it down. So we got to view that downstairs, but that wasn't in my room. But good to see you. I'm glad you stopped in. This was produced by Jerry Abbott again. This Project's in the Jungle. Now that the artwork does make a cool like looking stage, but it's so cartoonish and funny. But
Yeah.
that stage would be pretty cool. But this was guitars are more forward in this one. You can hear them a little bit better, which is good. I mean, Darrell. It wasn't Dime yet. It was Diamond Darrell. Back then you could hear him getting better and better on these albums. So that was a cool thing to listen to. Also, if you listen to them in order, it's a little less melodic and glammy, but the blue light turning red dime solo is really good. It's kind of like it's just an instrumental, I think. The first music video they put out was for All Over Tonight. That's not a very good song, though. I didn't really care for that one. The beginning guitar riff of the title track kind of sounds Cowboys-ish. Killers has a bit of guitar style we'd hear in the groove years later as well. So it's starting to show through a little bit in a couple of these songs. You're like, okay, I can hear this growing into something later. My favorites were Like Fire, In Over My Head's pretty catchy, and probably the best song on here, I think, In Over My Head. Not much of it, the rest of it's very memorable. I have this as a 7. I like the guitar riffs a little bit better, so I ranked this a little higher than the first album. And the song structure is starting to come together a little bit. There's a lot of just all over the place in the first album, where this one didn't mean the songs were good, but they had better structure. It sounded more like a normal sounding song. It wasn't just kind of all over the place. The solos fit better, like that kind of stuff. But I have this as a 7, just a straight C. It's pretty forgettable though. What'd you think of Projects in the Jungle?
Yeah, I think this one for me pretty identical to the first one.
Yeah, not much difference really.
Where I saw the differences in what I heard instantly when I started listening to this sounds very much like On Through the Night / High and Dry era Def Leppard to me.
Okay.
I feel like Terry Glaze, who Terrence Lee, as he's noted in this one.
Stage name. Yeah, he changed his name on the album.
Yeah, on the album itself. So I feel like he was really honing in on Def Leppard and was really trying to do a Joe Elliott here. Didn't do it good.
Or even close.
Right, I agree. But I feel like the band was going more towards that sound, and it wasn't bad.
Sound of the times too.
Yeah,
right?
it is.
I
Right.
mean, totally fits. If they were really trying, if they were influenced by anybody at the time, at the present time, it would have been, Def Leppard or somebody like that. So
I mean, I feel like they got a little bit away from the glam. They still looked glam, but I feel like the music, it was a little bit more hard rockish. They were just going for that Def Leppard sound. It kind of, to me, it sounded a little bit too close. Not good. Not the songs aren't as good as those two Def Leppard albums, but the sound, it just was like, man, this really sounds a lot like it. Just a little bit behind the first one for me, but not bad. I mean, again, I still, like you said, you can see the songs forming. You can see Darrell going nuts. Some of the solos here kind of were standing out to me a little bit. I agree. In Over My Head is definitely my favorite song on here. The Blue Light Turning Red solo kind of gives me a little feel of like Van Halen 1. I know that they loved Eddie. on guitar. So I know Dime was
Big
very
influence, yeah.
very influenced by him. The title
Didn't
track,
quite pull it off.
okay.
Not
Well,
great, but yeah, if you want to hear Darrell playing in just him
yeah,
and just him soloing, it's a good place to go back to, which is
yeah,
why I wanted to mention it. Not that it was great, because it is,
yeah,
but
yep,
it's definitely something you'd be like, okay, this is him as a 18-year-old, 17-year-old at the time.
yep.
So this is him early on, but it's just him.
That if nothing else you can take from these albums, at least you can see the trajectory of greatness, because
Mm-hmm.
the guy
Absolutely.
just up, 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 and then obviously we'll get to what he does later. But yeah, this one for me, just like I said, a little bit behind. I had this at number 8, and I had it a C also with Metal Magic. So basically, right there to me, it's basically the same. Again, I'll never come back to these, but not a bad listen. Like, it's not like I didn't enjoy it. It was fine. It was a good time. So yeah, it was okay.
Yep. Next year, right after that, they put out "I Am the Night," the last of the pretty terrible album covers. Oh, this one's a little better. So
Is that a record? Like, I don't
it's
understand
kind of like look like a record, but it could be like a spider web at the same time. Like that's
Yeah,
kind of what I was going into the night, kind of a spider web record-ish looking thing with eyeballs.
yeah,
But yeah, definitely, yeah, a little better. But this is like as you're progressing through art school and whatever middle school, you probably get a little bit better after a while. But
yep.
Jerry Abbott once again, the dad produced this one again, hot and heavy. First song again. It's their second video that they ever made. Now I haven't seen either of those two videos, so I need to go kind of do a deeper dive and look for those, because that might be a good laugh too, to see if you could find those out there. But this last album with Terry Glaze, you can definitely, as you just foreshadowed a minute ago, it made me laugh a little bit. You can hear more Eddie Van Halen influencing guitar on this one. Both Darrell and Vinny loved Van Halen. They identified with those guys too, because they're brothers and both play drums and guitar just like Eddie and Alex. So they really idolized them. And I think even when they went on stage, even into the 90s, like before they went on stage, they would kind of come together and be like, effing Van Halen, man. And then they would go out there. So like that was always their last thought before going out, let's go kill it like Van Halen.
Yep.
So they were huge fans. The songs though on this one are not as good. This kind of sounds like disjointed. There's not much like in the hook department in this one. There's no songs where I was like, wow, this one's really catchy. There really wasn't any of that. You can kind of hear a little bit in there, little different stuff, but there's I felt like they were trying to go in too many different directions. Down Below is a very Judas Priest heavy sound to it, like a heavy Judas Priest song. You can definitely hear some influence in there on that too. If I had to pick a favorite, I Am the Night, the last track is probably the best one. Is very Dokken / Kiss sounding. It's kind of a slower one, but that's a pretty decent song. I think it's on here as Forever Tonight, I guess. I thought it was called I Am the Night.
I Am the
Anyway.
Night is the second track.
Okay.
Track
So
2.
the last song, Forever Tonight. Sorry,
Yeah.
I just wrote down the wrong one. But yeah, that one, the last song, like the rest of it, I was kind of like, and then I got to that song. I'm like, okay, this one's all right. I mean, it wasn't great, but there's nothing good here at all outside of a couple riffs and solos, honestly, for me. So this is a C-. This is 9 for me. This is the bottom of the barrel. There's just nothing at all memorable. I had a hard time even finding one song I liked, and I couldn't even name that one correctly. So that pretty much tells you right there.
Right.
So, what did you think of I Am the Night?
It's funny, and we come across this a lot of different times, but sometimes you can just tell by listening to the album that you could sense something is coming. And obviously we didn't listen to them at this point. We didn't listen to this stuff, but
yeah.
But listening to this, I kind of put in my mind, I'm imagining the Abbott brothers, like, we need to do something different. Like, they came out with this album, and it sounds a lot like Projects in the Jungle, but it just sounds like B-sides of that album. Like, to me,
I can totally hear that.
it's like, to me, I kind of
almost
feel like
experimental stuff.
Right. Yeah. Almost like they wanted to just get this over with. again, obviously they go in a different direction after this, and I feel like it's pretty obvious this is kind of ran its course. It's kind of done with. The production on this is even worse than the other ones. I feel like it's very reverby. There's like no bite to it. It's just not good. It's easily my least favorite as well. So I had it at 9. I had it as a D plus. You were a little bit more kind to it. This one was the hardest one of the whole 9 to listen to for me. It really wasn't anything that I really liked off of it. We get another Dimebag solo in there. DGTTM, not
Daryl
bad.
goes to the movies.
But not really anything on it that I really care for. So easy 9, D plus. This was the easiest one to place for me. It just didn't really fit, and glad they went in a new direction, which we will talk about now.
Yeah, right about now. Terry Lee decided to part ways at this time, right after this, which, is kind of what you're alluding to. There's probably some, things going on where they kind of knew they weren't going to stay going this direction. They still kind of stick with the glam clothing and kind of image, but the next album, Power Metal, 1988, 10 songs, Jerry Abbott produced one more time. This is the first album with Phil. Phil was hired on the spot. 18-year-old Phil Anselmo had heard, these guys were looking for a singer. He was in a couple other bands at the time. Nothing of note really. And he went and interviewed. It's like work.
Yeah.
Went and interviewed with the HR department first and then got through that. Now he went and auditioned and they hired him on the spot. So they knew right away. They're like, wow, we like what this guy has. And he blows away Terry Lee as a singer. I mean, they're still doing sort of the same thing on this album, and he blows him away. Like, this guy, people think, this is the shocking part of Phil, is that he shows it once in a while on the 5 albums that everybody knows, but usually it's more angry and aggressive. This guy can really sing too, like up there with Rob Halford, like Jeff Tate, like way, way up there. Like, he can really sing. If he really wanted to do that, he could really do it, especially back then. I don't know if he still could now, but man, just he really shows off his vocal chops a bit here. So this is more influenced by popular like thrash releases around the time. This is kind of what Daryl was getting into. Heavier style, kind of a mashup of glam and thrash, kind of in a weird way. Overall, it's just, Phil's just a more aggressive and just better singer than Terry, so it just really makes a difference in the sound. It's heavier sound overall, and kind of a Judas Priest style with some thrash in there is how I would really describe it. Dime's playing really starts to shine through here. You can hear him a lot better. He starts to reach his ridiculous levels at times that he can get to, where he's just, nobody can touch how good he is. And he just kind of developed mostly his own sound at this point. You can really hear his sound shine through on this album. His guitar tone and sound, like you're like, okay, this I recognize. Like, it's not the riffs from, some later songs, but you can definitely hear some stuff in there. And you're like, and the sound alone, you're like, if you just close your eyes, you're like, that's Daryl, man. Like, there's no doubt. So after this album, they decided they'd shed the glam image and spandex. And this is what Vinny said at a band meeting. I thought this was super interesting. I never knew this. He said, these magic clothes don't make the music. We do. Let's just be comfortable. Let's wear whatever and just see what happens. Like, it's not about the clothes and the style. And finally, they were all just like, huh, all right. Where, 1988, 89, like, that was still the popular thing. People weren't doing that. They weren't shedding this style. They were going into it even deeper in some cases, So it's just kind of funny that he just so matter of fact, I'm like, wow, what a great moment, for this band. And I'm like, that's pretty cool. It's something I never knew about a band that I love. After this album, Dave Mustaine approached Daryl too to join Megadeth. But he said only if his brother Vinny could join too. And David just hired Nick Menza to play drums, and Dave declined. I mean, imagine the point in time, where Darrell and Vinny could have been in Megadeth, maybe,
Yep.
and done Rust in Peace with Dave. What would that have sounded like? I can't see that lasting very long, really, but
Nobody does.
but can you imagine,
Yeah,
what that might have sounded like?
for
I mean,
sure.
that came
Yeah.
out the same time as Cowboys from Hell, basically. So
Yep.
that would have been that. And instead they went the other direction and then took off, with Pantera and became way bigger than Megadeth was anytime during the 90s.
Oh
So
yeah.
that's
Yep.
just crazy how that one moment just changed a lot of history, PST 88, one of the songs has a very familiar future Pantera sound and guitar tone and style. That's one of my favorite ones. I like Over and Out a lot. Skippers, it's all pretty decent, although I don't think there's anything truly great here, but there's definitely some stuff that shines through. The song I like the least, I'll say, is We'll Meet Again. I didn't really care for that one. That was a slower one, I think, and it just, I don't know. I didn't really care for that one, but I don't think I would really skip that either. So it's all pretty decent. I don't think there's anything that I'd skip. I just kind of would let this play and just listen to Darrell play on guitar because it sounds so good. It's so, I don't know, it makes me happy to hear him play guitar. I just love the way he plays guitar. I'd say he has to be my second favorite guitarist of all time, probably after Eddie Van Halen. So I love his tone and the way he plays, and it's all over this album. So I had this as a B minus. I mean, it's kind of up there, but that's because he just sounds so good, and him and Vinny sound so good together. Even though there's not really any great songs here, but I did really like it. So it just starts to sound a little like future Pantera, especially in Darrell's case. I could just let this all play out. So I have this as number 6 at a B minus. What did you think of power metal?
A lot of your notes, I basically have written the same thing down
Nice.
here.
Yeah, I don't know how you can come to any other conclusion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, it's basically a more thrash version of everything they've been doing. It's a good bridge album. I noticed that's kind of what they reference this as, which I totally agree. It's like the perfect meshing of what they would become and kind of mixing in kind of what they did. It's a really heavier version of what they did. Definitely thrash enthused for sure. I heard, like you said, a lot of Halford I'm hearing here. A lot of it sounds like Priest. And actually probably as good as what Priest was doing about this time too.
I would probably agree with that.
Yeah, so
I'm not sure Johnny would, but he doesn't seem to be with us anymore. So.
Yeah, this was like what Ram It Down time. This is like a little bit later Priest stuff. But
Johnny
yeah,
liked him some Ram It Down, I think.
Yeah.
He'd definitely comment if he heard that.
But yeah, I'm with you. Like I enjoyed it. I liked listening to it, but again, not a whole lot stands out. It's okay. I don't even really know that I have any favorites, but I'm with you. I don't love that last song, the PST 88 that you like. The lyrics, I just can't with it's kind of obnoxious.
It is obnoxious and juvenile and stupid.
Yeah,
but I like the
riff is cool. Yeah,
the riff's really good.
And I can't blame Phil. That's not even that's actually Dime singing that. So
yes. Yeah, people in the comments were like, hey, this guy, sounds like, I don't even know. They were comparing him to some other singer. I'm like, no, Hetfield. And I'm like, not really. I mean, I don't get what they're saying, but they're like, yeah, that's what everybody was saying too. Like, this is Dime singing this one. But yeah, this sounds like a song that, and I think Rex Rocker and Vinnie Paul and Darrell wrote this together. But I feel like this is one that they probably wrote maybe earlier on and just kind of updated it for this album. I think that's why it's called PST 88.
Right.
But anyway, it's I just like the riff. I mean, the lyrics are
there are some cool riffs on this record. Not really any songs that I would say, but it's pretty clear. It's number 6 for me as well. I had it as a C+. This is pretty much the demarcation line, just like anybody would have imagined.
Yeah.
I think everything kind of after this was much better, and everything below this was much worse. So that's just kind of how I feel about that. And yeah, there you go. There's John's Ram It Down the Landfill.
There you go.
There you go.
I knew he'd say something.
So, but yeah, it's very clear. So yeah, number 6, C plus. And let's get to the good ones.
The good stuff. 1990, July 25th. Probably about, I'm gonna say that's about 2 months after I graduated high school. 12 songs. Terry Date produced. He also worked with the Deftones a bit, but he did all of these albums except for the last one. And even that one has a Terry Date mix that sounds way better than the original mix. Like, it's fantastic. So if you like the last album we're going to get to, listen to the Terry Date remix from 2020. Oh, the songs all sound so good. But yeah, this dude's fantastic. I like what he did with the Deftones too. I think it was their first album, Adrenalize, that he did, and I'm like, wow. So yeah, I like what he does. They wanted Max Norman, who was Ozzy's original when he first started. Blizzard of Oz, Diary of a Madman. I think Bark at the Moon too. Max Norman did all those, all the way till Ultimate Sin, I believe. But he agreed to do this album, but he backed out when he got tapped to do the Lynch Mob debut, Wicked Sensation. So it's just, George Lynch had just left Dokken and put together this kind of super groupish, and Max Norman's like, I think I'll go do that. So they got Terry Date rather than these power metal guys, but he went and saw him perform, so he knew what he was getting into, and he was excited about it, but he just felt like that was a better opportunity, and probably there's more money behind it. For Cowboys from Hell, they got turned down 28 times by all the different record companies until Atco finally decided to offer them a deal. So, Max Norman, I think Lynch Mob came out on Geffen or whatever the big label was at the time. So, of course, that makes sense that you're going to do that. But anyway, it all worked out. The original recording it sounds real uneven, with some songs sounding great, other ones sounding kind of power metal-ish, which was weird. Like Domination sounds great, but going into Shattered, and Shattered's like quiet and sounds like muffled, and I'm like, why do these songs sound so much different? And they're back to back on the album. And then what was the other one? The Sleep into the Art of Shredding was the same thing. The Sleep didn't sound very good, but the Art of Shredding sounds outstanding. So it's weird how there's just different levels. I don't know how they recorded. If they recorded some of it like longer ago in a different session and then couldn't match them up. But I thought the sound was a little weird there. But I've listened to this album so many times. This is their unofficial origin, like you said. They don't even mention that the first 4 albums even officially exist anywhere. You got to listen to those on YouTube. They're not on Spotify. They're nowhere. But obviously, it's a much different sound they had previously. A much more aggressive, groove-heavy sound. Except for Shattered. Shattered, I mentioned in here as I was listening. I'm like, Shattered wouldn't sound out of place on power metal. And actually, that one kind of felt like a carryover. So maybe it just was recorded longer ago, closer to when power metal was recorded. But it definitely wouldn't be out of place on there. And my favorites on here are Cowboys from Hell, Cemetery Gates, Domination. I mean, I could go into even a few more, but I just wanted to pick a few of my absolute favorites. My skippers are none. Although Medicine Man isn't one of my favorite songs. It's kind of weird. I didn't really care for that one. But again, would I skip that one song? No. I mean, they're all good enough. I have this as a B plus, number 3. Pretty top heavy though, with the best songs being the first 6 songs. Although nothing here is really worth skipping other than maybe Medicine Man. It's all solid to great. What did you think of Cowboys from Hell?
Yeah, man, these albums, obviously we both ranked 6 to 9 for the first 4. So obviously our top 5 are the 5 to remain. And man, all these albums are so good. They still live up to today. Like, they're still listenable. They're still amazing. I love all 5 of these records. I wish I could put them all at, top notch, but we got to rank them against each other. Man, I love this stuff. Just listening to this, I was at, ripe teenage years, and there was nothing like this. And even bands like you mentioned, Megadeth, like, they kind of weren't, they were kind of more chilling out now at this point. Like, there was nothing like this. Like this was like a one of a kind band for me in the 90s. And of course they got huge, in the 90s because there was nothing really like it in the 90s like this. Metallica was basically chilled out. They were already doing the Black Album Into the Loads and stuff like that. So, man, I love this stuff. It sounds so good. Cowboys from Hell, you mentioned. I love Psycho Holiday. Cemetery Gates. I actually, I didn't really hear any of this stuff until the Demon Knight soundtrack came out. That song was on it, and then I went backwards at that point. So just kind of how I came into Cowboys from Hell. But Cemetery Gates, Domination is so good. That breakdown, the solo into the breakdown. Like I don't care what I'm doing. Like I'm getting up and I'm moshing.
Right, right.
It's
Yeah, I gotta stand up. If I'm sitting
da-da-dun.
down, I gotta stand up. Like I know I'm not just gonna be able to stand still. Listen to that. Just
Seriously,
sit still. It's
so good. But yeah, I agree with you. It's very top heavy. A lot of the last half of the album is a little bit forgettable for me. I don't always listen to it all the way through. Every other album I basically listen to all the way through, which is kind of why this one drops a little bit for me to number 4. It's still an amazing album. I still love it. I still come back to it all the time. Um, I do like that they closed it with Art of Shredding. You mentioned is fantastic. That's a great song. Some of those in between, though, in between Domination and Art of Shredding, are kind of forgettable / kind of run together for me. But this is a B to a B plus for me, and it's number 4 overall. Cowboys from Hell.
all right. Let me move on to now this one. I worked with a guy at Taco Bell. I was working in Elyria at the time. I worked there for 7 years. I think I was a shift manager at the time, and so was this guy. So this guy came in from some other store, and I never met this guy before. And then we'd get to, let's see, I was this is 1991, so I'm 19. But we'd hang out, and he was a few years older than me, but I guess he used to do some like freelance writing for various metal magazines. He kept telling me that he was hearing from other people that were doing writing and had heard from other people and had heard, I guess, some of the music that the new Pantera album that everybody was saying was some of the angriest, most aggressive music anyone has ever heard. And they were so right. Everything about it. The album cover says it all. Like and he even told me about the album cover before the album even came out. Like he already knew what was going to be on it. Like these guys knew their stuff. These people that he knew, and I'll never forget that because man. And then when the album came out, like he had me all kind of pumped up about it. And then like he didn't have any copies of anything. Like we couldn't listen to it, but this is what he was hearing. So there was all this buzz, and man, when it came out, God, did this just blow my face off. Like I couldn't believe how good this was, and right from the start. This is Terry Date again, and Vinnie Paulus as producers. This is the height of their powers for me. This is greatness all over the place. It's real top heavy. The first 6 songs they're probably amongst the greatest 6-song runs on any album I've ever heard. Like I've listened to those 6 songs so many times. It kind of drops off. I'll never shut it off, but it kind of drops off after that, with Hollow being the only real second half highlight for me that I really love. But those first 6 songs all the way through Rise, oh my God, they're so good. Hollow is also very Ride the Lightning, Master Puppets, Metallica sounding kind of song too. That kind of vibe, and it's really good. Kind of like Cemetery Gates a lot too, but it just has a Metallica kind of like that creepiness to it, that they were writing. It was so good. My favorites on this one, the first 6 songs. Don't make me pick one. Just don't make me do it. I can't do it. There's no skippers whatsoever. This is an A for me. Number 1. I was just blown away hearing it. This is my first time seeing them too, was for this album. I'd end up seeing them all over the place in years to come. I don't know how many times I've seen this band, but it was all from 1992 to probably 1998. I don't think I saw them for Reinventing the Steel, except if they played Ozfest.
They did, yeah.
So I saw them once for that, but I don't think I saw them headline anywhere else. But man, I would go see them anywhere and everywhere around Ohio, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Like anywhere I could go see them. I saw them at the Rubber Bowl, 2 Super Bowl Sundays in a row. Or not the Rubber Bowl, I'm sorry, the James A. Rose Arena in Akron. And I remember Phil used to love having everybody, they had wood bleachers all the way up, right?
Yep.
So it's a kind of a, I don't know, 4 or 5,000 ish seat place, not real big,
Right.
but wood bleachers all the way up. And Phil used to love hearing everybody pound their feet on the wood bleachers, and he would make everybody do it multiple times, multiple years that I saw him. He's like, I remember this place, and he would make people do that. It was just, I'll never forget those shows. The one year we drove down there in the snow, me and my brother, we like barely got there. There was like a foot of snow, like all the way down there. It was crazy. It took us forever to get there, and we still went because there was no way we were missing Pantera. There was no way. And then they came the very next year, like the last week of January, first week of February, whatever. And we drove down there and saw him again. The one time, me and my buddy Rob would argue all the time that who headlined between Skid Row, because they toured with Skid Row the first time, and Skid Row was touring for Slave to the Grind, and Pantera opened for them. And I always swore in my head that Pantera headlined that show because I liked Skid Row too, and I loved that album, and we stayed for the whole thing. But in my head, Pantera was the show, Skid Row wasn't, But if you look it up, Skid Row did headline that first show. But I argued with him about it forever until I finally went and looked it up. And I'm like, all right, he was right. But I don't care. It was still a Pantera show for me.
Nice.
But just fantastic. And like I said, I'd go see him absolutely anywhere. Their live show blew every band away in the early to mid 90s that I saw. I'm sure there was some, like I didn't see Rage Against the Machine until later, like bands that just were known for just insane live shows, but Pantera I saw a bunch and nobody came close to what they were doing. Nobody. So this is number one for me. This is an A. What did you think of Vulgar Display of Power?
Yeah, this was my intro to the band. I just got lucky and I started hanging out with this new kid at school. We weren't new, but like we had a new friendship, like over music or whatever. And I remember going down in his basement and playing Nintendo. And he's like, check out this awesome album. And he starts playing Vulgar Display of Power. Man, I felt like I was doing something totally wrong listening to this. Like I felt like I would get in trouble if I was listening to this. It just seemed so heavy and grimy and oh man,
so angry.
Yeah, like
so angry.
Man, it changed my life though. It's just so good. Like to me, I don't. This is one that I don't think has any weak spots. I don't think it's top heavy. I agree with you that those first 6 songs are just legendary, but I think the same thing about 7 through 11 as well. I just maybe a little bit, romantic.
It's a very slight drop off. It's not a big drop off.
No good. Like that riff, that was so good. The Live in a Hole solo is awesome. Like, I feel like I got to raise up these songs on a pedestal. Like By Demons Be Driven is incredible.
Regular People, you love that one?
I do love it. Oh, it's so good.
I mean, they have their moments, but they're just not overall for me as good a overall song. That's
this is a listening experience for me. I put on number 1 and I don't turn it off until Hallow's over.
Yeah. I don't turn it off either, but I would never do that.
But this is a game changer for me. This is one that I still go back to all the time. I love every song on it. When I saw them live on this newish tour, I was pumped they played all these first 5 songs. It was awesome. I was happy I got to see him even with Zach and Charlie. It was still pretty cool. I liked it.
I liked it too. Wasn't obviously it's easy to say it wasn't the same, but like Zach has his own style.
Yeah.
Charlie sounded a lot like Vinny to me because their drum sounds to me are similar. So but to me, Zach's style is quite a bit different from Dime. So, but it was still really good, and he's a phenomenal guitar player. I'll make no mistake, but it just sounded a little different. But
so my take on it was, I actually think, because I seen Pantera twice live with Dimebag, and I saw him twice with this lineup, this newer lineup. And I honestly, my opinion, I was talking to our buddy Brian about this. I actually think that the new iteration, the tribute Pantera, is closer to the records than Dime ever was live. And I'm not saying that in a good or bad way, because Dime, I kind of felt like, I mean, it's his songs. Like he was kind of, when he would play live, he would kind of wing it. Sometimes it was real sloppy and dirty. And I mean, it sounded great. I mean, it's still Dimebag playing live. It's phenomenal. But I feel like Zach did it like the record. And I was happy that he did that personally. I felt like it sounded very similar to how Dime would play on the record. And I felt Dime, you get what I'm saying? That was kind of my
I
takeaway.
felt that I hear you, but I feel like it sounded like Zach Wilde playing Dime's parts on the album.
Maybe,
not
yeah.
you know what I mean? Like he has such a different tone and
Yeah.
sound all of
For
his
sure.
own that he did. It was kind of note for note. I
Mhm.
agree with that. And
Right.
and Dime kind of never was. You were
Right.
right, but
Yep.
but it was also like he would play, and it wasn't like Vince Neil trying to sing Mountain Crue
No,
songs
no,
now.
no,
You know
no,
what I
no.
mean? Like he wasn't like that sloppy. Like he would just do other things in spots, but everything always fit.
Sure.
Like the one who kind of ruined some of those shows for me is Phil,
Yeah.
because at the time Phil was drinking and he's using heroin. He's having huge back problems, and he would lay on the stage and sing Cemetery Gates, and he would just mumble and you couldn't understand what he was saying. Like by the time the end of the show got there, and that would kind of ruin it for me,
Yeah.
you know. But never Dime. Like
Oh,
Dime,
no, I'm not
like
saying that.
he would drink or whatever, but you're right, he didn't play it note for note. He would definitely improvise a little bit in there, but structurally it was still pretty much
Yeah.
the same, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah,
I
Dime's still
totally get what
Dime.
you're
And
saying.
yeah, that I definitely wasn't making comments on poor playing. He's just kind of a wing it guy. I kind
Yeah.
of always got that feeling that you might hear, his solo for whatever song. It might sound different night to night. It's still Dimebag.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still incredible. But anyway, yeah, I love this album. Kind of circling back the wagons here. This is easily number one for me. This is like one large Grand Canyon gap and then two. But it's all great though. It's all great. But that
Yeah.
shows this album just means so much to me. It's an A plus for me, obviously, because I just put the songs on a pedestal that you said were kind of a step down. I still think they're incredible.
Quarter
I
of a
think this
step
is
down.
I think this is a perfect metal album. I love every moment of it, and I'll always go back to it. So easy number one, easy A plus for me. I love Vulgar Display of Power and always will.
Sounds good. All right. After that, they moved on and put out Far Beyond Driven, March 22nd, 1994. Another 12 songs. Terry Date once again. I'm going to be honest. At first, this one had to grow on me.
Yep.
It's not that I disliked any of it, right? It was still Pantera, but it was a bit of a letdown because I wanted Vulgar's Display of Power, but to the next level. And I should have known better that it's not really possible to hit a bar that's set that high, right? So I've grown to like it more though than I did at first. So I do like this album a lot more now than when it first came out. But I'm talking like the first like couple listens. Like I'm like, okay, this one's top heavy too. So I'm like,
Yep.
okay, this is good. I just didn't feel like they were as good as songs as the first 6 songs on Vulgar Display of Power, but I would grow to like them even more too. So it was this one's, like I said, this one's a little top heavy too. But this is where Darrell finally dropped Diamond for Dimebag, and Rex also at the same time dropped Rex Rocker. Now he's just Rex Brown. So I don't think it was listed as Rex Rocker on Vulgar Display of Power, but
It was just Rex. I think.
I think it was just Rex, and then this was like the official, like he's no more Rex Rocker.
Right.
He put that to bed. This when Phil in between started, especially on this album and after, he started having major back problems, and this was he didn't want to get surgery because there was a super long recovery, and this was just a huge point for them as a band. I almost, if I was in his position, I don't think I'd want to do it either because he obviously had access to all these drugs and alcohol and all pills and all this stuff that I'm sure people were just throwing it at him, because they're making so much money for everybody. He didn't have any problem getting anything. But this was top of their game, right? This is Pantera's apex is vulgar display of power in here. And maybe the a little bit of Cowboys, right in there is just the top of the mountain for them. So I kind of don't blame him, but it also led to some problems with performances with his behavior and with just him being out of it, like I said before, live, and that it was kind of more during this time that I was talking, and then kind of caused some strife within the band too, I think, which I think kind of showed up on the next album. But my favorites are the first 4 songs are great. Again, 5 Minutes Alone is probably my favorite of those 4. I think I'm Broken is probably very close behind that. And then I really like Planet Caravan a lot too. The Black Sabbath cover, it's so good. But the rest of the songs are all very good too. There's obviously no skippers on here. Those are just my favorites. I have this as an A-, so this is still like apex, Pantera for me, but just slightly. I just like it slightly less than Vulgar Display of Power. So this is number 2 for me. What did you think of Far Beyond Driven?
So I kind of went the opposite of you. So Far Beyond Driven, when it came out, I was very excited for this to come out. I was still very young and very, I wanted more of this. I wanted something that I couldn't have and that I wouldn't be able to show my parents that I was getting. And, I really, really was looking forward to this. And I loved it. Like, this was brutal. It was like Vulgar Display of Power, and let's make it heavier and angrier and dirtier. Like, it was awesome for me.
Production's like clearer too. Like it's
clear.
Crystal clear. It almost rips your ears off your head,
Oh yeah. I mean, I still, when I put the headphones on and Strength Beyond Strength comes on, it just melts my face off. It's so good.
Right.
Man,
you almost got to turn it down. You're like, wow, man, jeez.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly.
So clean and so good.
But listening to this over the years, it kind of grinds on me. Some of these songs, like Good Friends and a Bottle of Pills, I don't even listen to anymore. I skip it completely. I don't want to listen to that ever again. It's freaking weird to me. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. Like when I was younger, I was like, this is hilarious. It's hilarious, tongue in cheek, Sunken Cheeks with the next song. But like,
yes,
just some of these songs, listening to them now, I can't do it. So it drops it a little bit for me over the years. It just, if I was ranking these back in even probably the early 2000s, this would be easily number 2. But it's not quite at 2. I have it at 3 now. 1 has snuck up and taken its spot from the next couple, and I'm sure you could tell what that one is. But this album's good.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll go with that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there might be an argument on our hands.
There might be some heated. But Strength Beyond Strength, Becoming, 5 Minutes Alone, I'm Broken. You mentioned all those. Mm-hmm. I still love Slaughtered. It's so heavy.
Yeah.
I love the riffs on Shedding Skin is awesome.
Yes. Yeah, I almost mentioned that one too.
Throes of Rejection, the bass at the beginning of it is badass.
You like Planet Caravan?
I do think it was a cool cover for sure.
Really good.
Yeah, it was
something
really cool.
I think they would do, but they did it really, really well.
Yep.
I was really blown away by that. That was kind of the one, like when I was first listening to this and I was a little disappointed, but when I got to that, I'm like, holy crap, that's a good song. And there was a song, like, I don't think I even knew who it was at the time. Like, I know I've heard this song before, but who was that? Like, they really did a good job with it.
Yep, very good. But yeah, it's number 3 for me. It's still an incredible album. I still love it, especially the songs that I love. They still play a lot of those live with the new iteration. I've seen a lot of these songs live before. So good. Mm-hmm. It's number 3 for me. It's an A-, B+. It's still a great album. I still love it, but it just one has taken its spot just over the years.
Mhm.
That one's grown a little better. This one has kind of grates on me a little in a few areas, so just takes it down a little notch for me.
Yeah, I get that. And like, do they play, like, I think I've heard them do Use My Third Arm fairly recently, I think.
I don't know.
Or like they still played that even after the last couple albums, but for the most part, they don't play those songs that you don't like. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Agreed.
So which is good. You know, they play the first four, and then maybe they'll throw in a Shedding Skin or Use My Third Arm once in a while, but
Yep.
that's about it. So yeah, the good thing is you don't have to hear those if you're going to see them.
Yep.
Then we move on a couple more years to the Great Southern Trendkill, May 7th, 1996. 11 songs on this one. Terry Date again for the last time. This is kind of where the drop off for me kind of happened. Like, I was like, okay, like I was a little disappointed at the beginning for Far Beyond Driven, but then I grew to really like it pretty quickly. But this one kind of never really made sense to me. I didn't like it nearly as much as the last three albums in a row, so I was really looking forward to this. And it's still good. There's a couple highlights, but it's just not as good. It's not really nearly as good, in my opinion. I didn't like the screaming on this one. I feel like they kind of lost the groove that I like so much. This kind of almost feels experimental in some cases. It's inconsistent. I feel like there was probably a lot going on with the band at the time that led to some of the disjoining of the sound. I think they were writing different parts of this album in different places. Like, I feel like I think that Phil was doing vocals like elsewhere, and they weren't recording it all together, and it just felt inconsistent to me and disjointed. But it doesn't mean there's nothing good on here, because there is some good stuff here, obviously, because you know, Vinny and Dime are so good together, and like, you know, they're still Pantera, right? None of this doesn't sound like Pantera. They didn't go off and create something like they didn't go off and create like a grunge album. Like, this is definitely still Pantera, but it's not nearly as good song wise, and just that you get this feeling, and like you just know all the lyrics to those songs, and like this one has all these different sounds of vocals and just kind of all over the place. But I really like Drag the Waters. It kind of sounds almost like a Down song to me a little bit. It has that kind of southern super heavy swampy sound to it. Living Through Me I like, and I like Sandblasted Skin. I would skip Suicide Note Part 1. That's kind of ballady, and it doesn't really work for me like some of their other slower stuff did. And Floods is another one that's like that I didn't care for. I'd still put this as a B, but this is kind of more middle of the road, really. And this is the one where, you know, we were talking earlier, like, I like power metal enough to where I feel like if I listen to power metal a bunch and really started to like those songs for whatever reason, that one could actually overtake this one, because this one I don't think I'm ever gonna like more than I like it less when I hear it now than more. So this one, I almost, if I was ever going to switch out one from the first four from the second five, it would be this one in power metal. But as it stands, I got this one at 5. It just feels all over the place. There's not a lot of structure. Dime's doing his thing and sounds great, but the iconic riffs aren't there as much for the most part. There's some. I'm not a fan of the layered vocals. There's guest vocals on here, but all that said, it's still undeniably Pantera. So I have this as a B. This is number 5. It's right in the middle for me. What did you think of Great Southern Trendkill?
Guess what, partner? This is my jam.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, no, this is the album that I am
Not
on
the
an
one
island.
I thought it was going to be. Yeah, you are on an island all unto yourself, sir.
And I admit it, and I will happily take that, because Herd's Island with Great Southern Trendkill.
It's Gillaherd.
That's right. So when this came out, like, I played the hell out of it. I love this album. I love the songs. Like, everything that you said about this album, I would copy and paste and put on Reinventing the Steel.
Oh wow!
Because to me, that is the disjointed one. That one is the one where
disagree.
that band was done. And
Disagree.
this album has 2 solos that were ranked like top 15 metal solos of all time with tens and floods. Man, I love the riffs on these songs. I think that that's
2 solos out of an entire album. You realize, right? That's like a minute
no.
of each of those songs.
But I'm talking 2 of the best solos ever written
Okay.
in metal music.
Okay.
The title track is got a great riff. War Nerve is not one of my favorites. Drag the Waters is phenomenal.
I love that one.
Tens is really good. Floods is a phenomenal song. They got such a crowd request for that they started playing it on the last leg of their tour. Floods is freaking awesome. It's probably their top 2 of their top 3 songs on that. So I love this album. And again, I haven't really found anybody else that loves it as much as me. And that's okay. I'm willing to admit,
willing to die on that hill,
that I'm different with this because I get it. Like I totally understand why people don't love it, but for me, it's a no skipper album. I love it. I still love it, and it passed up. When it first came out, it was clearly behind Cowboys and Far Beyond Driven. To me, it has. It's all right, John. You don't have to. I'm good living on this island all by myself. I love Great Southern Trendkill. So you all can suck it.
Yeah.
This is number 2 for me, and this is an A minus.
Sucking it by yourself on the island all by yourself.
Yeah, well, you got to do what you got to do, you know.
You got to do what you got to do.
That's right.
So you have this as
number 2. Yep.
Number 2.
Yep.
I guess everybody's different.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. So on to Reinventing the Steel. March 21st, 2010 songs. Produced originally by Vinny and Dime with Sterling Winfield. Do you know who Sterling Winfield is?
I have no idea who that is.
I didn't try to look him up, but I'd never heard the name before. 4 years in between albums here. This is obviously their last album. I give them some credit. It's the same lineup for 6 albums. They've been through a lot of stuff, so I'm, I got to give them that. It's actually only a couple weeks from now until Dime's 20th anniversary of his death here, so in Columbus of all places too. It had to be in Ohio, right?
Yeah,
but still makes me sad. What he could have done in the last 20 years. Vinny passed away in 2018 also, so that's why you have Charlie and Zach in the cover band now. But the same lineup up until now. So this is the only non-platinum major label release too. It went gold. I think it's close to platinum, but it just hasn't quite made it there. But actually, none of their as much as well as these guys did. I think double platinum is the highest any of them got.
Yeah.
So I don't, even Vulgar and Far Beyond Driven, I don't think got past 2 million. So they're all kind of together. This one just didn't get to 1 million, but the other ones aren't really that far ahead of it either. So there's no ballads on this one. It makes them disappear. Sounds a lot like Down to me. But I feel like the signature Dime riffs are back after largely being absent on Trendkill. Kind of more of the in the Vulgar Display of Power and Far Beyond Driven vein for me. Like Goddamn Electric, Revolution is My Name, dude. That song belongs. That you could put that song on Far Beyond Driven or Vulgar Display of Power. Fits right in there. Sounds fantastic. Yesterday Don't Mean Shit's a good song. We'll Grind the Axe for a Long Time. It's kind of a weird long title, but that's a really good song too for me. I really enjoyed that one. There's really no skippers here. This is a B plus for me. Now this is one where this one could probably not surpass Cowboys from Hell, but it's up there because there's songs on this one that I really, really like. So I feel like this is kind of more cohesive than the last album, which was kind of all over the place. Like they were kind of trying to do too many different things, where this one kind of, it doesn't go thrashy and have these two kind of really quiet songs on it. Like, it doesn't have any of that. It's just all rocks. It's all riffs. It sounds good. If you do like this album, listen to the Terry Date remixed one from 2020 because it sounds fantastic. Like, it sounds so good. So he really did a great job with that one. That's the way better version to listen to, but give that a shot if you like this album. But I like a lot of songs on here. This is B plus. I still have it as a 4, but I mean, between Vulgar Display of Power, Cowboys, and Far Beyond Driven, I don't think this one could ever catch that. But I did like it quite a bit more than Great Southern Trendkill. But anyway, that's where I got this one. So what did you? What are your bashings of reinventing the steel from your little island over there?
Hey,
is your boat okay? Does it have any holes in it? You got a dinghy?
Listen, brother.
Listen here, brother.
Let me tell you something, brother. I clearly said right before Cowboys from Hell that I love all 5 of these albums, and I do. I love this album. I think it's really, really good. I think when it hits, it's as good as anything they've ever done. I just don't think it's as good 1 to 10 as any of the other 4 of that came out after. To me, there's some kind of lulls in it for me. I agree with you. Revolution Is My Name is the best song on here, and I go back to it all the time. You were listening to Death Rattle right before.
Do they play that live? Revolution Is My Name?
They haven't that I've heard.
Yeah, I was gonna say when I
No.
saw them open for Metallica. I don't just recently. I don't with the
Well, and I did see them for
tribute
Reinventing
band.
the Steel, and they just played.
I swear, I know I've heard that song though.
Yeah, maybe they
I had
did
to
play
have heard
that
it
tour.
live. That's what I'm thinking. Then the Ozfest, you're saying?
Yeah,
Yeah. We can look it up. But
yeah, you could definitely check it. But yeah, I think
it's the one that gets all the plays off of this
yes.
album too. Although when I hear Pantera, it's generally not that song, but if they play one off of this album, it's definitely that song. So,
but yeah, I'm with you. Death Rattle's good. I like We'll Grind That X for a long time. I'm not a huge fan of how it starts. Goddamn Electric is pretty good. Yesterday Don't Mean Shit, not really one of my favorites. I like the riff on You've Got to Belong to It. That's pretty cool, but I don't love the song. To me this sounded a little less cohesive. And I know both of these last 2 albums, basically Phil did like all the tracks in a separate studio away from everybody else. So I know they were literally disjointed for both of these albums, but
there's no other people on it singing with him, layered wise. You know what I mean? It's just him. So that's why. Not that it doesn't feel like it sounds more like Phil than the last album did to me. You know, I don't know.
Yeah, I still love it. Like I said, I rank it at number 5. It's still a B to a B minus for me. Like, I still put this on. I loved it when it came out. I feel like a lot of people gave it a hard time. I still defended it. I love this record. I don't think.
Yeah, I never really got why people bash this one that much, to be honest with you.
But I love everything after Cowboys from Hell. I'll defend because I think this is one of the best metal bands of all time. Definitely the most.
Totally agree there.
Totally the most unique. Definitely invented pretty much their own genre. You know, when it came to the groove thing.
Yeah, really.
So
really.
I'll defend all.
What
5 of these
did you
albums.
think it makes them disappear? Did you get a down vibe from that too?
Yeah,
okay.
not a huge fan of that one.
But does that sound like down to you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's definitely it's kind of a lead into that sludgy sound. Yeah. And I like.
They don't do that a lot, but
no, that's the only time they do it.
Stuff, yeah.
But yeah, I love that first Down album too.
Yeah, me too. And that's why I'm surprised that more of it didn't creep into these 2. What about Drag the Waters? You feel the same about that one too? Like that one?
Yep.
Yeah, they just fit with that type of sound. I'm actually surprised more of that didn't bleed in.
Yeah, actually, I think more the Damage Plan stuff more sounds like the next evolution to Pantera. I feel like the Down stuff is more just a totally different direction.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. Not that it sounds like Pantera, but it's just I'm surprised there aren't a couple more songs that have that same kind of sound to it, but there aren't.
I mean, it's a totally different world when we're talking about Dimebag and we're talking about Pepper Keenan, which I love
Yes,
both guitarists,
yes.
but
Mhm.
just totally different styles. Totally. So
Where's Dime on your list of great guitar players?
he's definitely top probably 3.
Okay. So
Like
pretty
I would
much
have to
same.
sit and think about it, but for sure.
Yeah, that's always a tough one.
Yeah, it's just so unique. It's really hard to compare him to really anybody else, because at least, like, you could compare like Hetfield and Hammett. You can compare like Mustaine, and like you can't compare Dimebag to like too many other people. He's his
No.
own kind of genre,
Yeah.
his own kind of thing. So yeah, I absolutely, he was one
Yeah,
of my
nobody wrote
favorites.
riffs that sound like that,
No.
just nobody does. Like, it's so instantly recognizable,
Yeah.
It's like, for me, that's why I like him so much, I think, probably is because he's just right away, it's him. Just like I know right away it's Eddie Van Halen playing if it's on Beat It or if it's on,
Yeah, sure.
on a Van Halen album.
Yep.
Like, he has a tone kind of all of his own, and he kind of has his own way of playing too, but
Mm-hmm.
it was kind of like everybody else but amplified. Like, Dime was more like, I don't want to say original because that's not true, but he's more kind of in his own category. Like, you can't say that he sounds like somebody else, but better. He sounds like just Dime, and nobody else has been able to copy that. So,
Yep.
which is great. It's been 20 years and still nobody, even like we're talking about Zach Wilde, who's one of the best guitarists on the planet, right? And he can't sound like him either.
No.
Nobody can.
Mm-mm.
So it doesn't matter who it is. It would still sound like somebody else playing Dime stuff because just nobody can sound like that guy. It's crazy.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah,
All right.
good one, John. He said Dime started a genre, Eddie perfected one. That's very well said.
Yep, I agree with you
Very
there.
well said.
Absolutely. All right, partner, give me your 1 to 9 for Pantera.
All right. So number 1, Vulgar Display of Power. Number 2, Far Beyond Driven. Number 3, CFH, Cowboys from Hell. Number 4, Reinventing the Steel. Number 5, Great Southern Trendkill, and that pretty much ends that part of Pantera. And then the earlier Pantera, we got 6, Power Metal, which is kind of off by itself, and then 7, Projects in the Jungle, 8, Metal Magic, and 9, I Am the Night. What did you have overall?
So overall, right with you, with number 1 being Vulgar Display of Power. I love that record, always will. Masterful job, nicely done, Pantera. Number 2, I'm Out on an Island with the Great Southern Trendkill. Number 3, Far Beyond Driven. Number 4, Cowboys from Hell. Number 5, Reinventing the Steel. Number 6, Power Metal. Number 7, Metal Magic. Number 8, Projects in the Jungle. And number 9, I Am the Night. So pretty similar. Again, we always seem to have one that's a little shuffled. Pretty much on the same path, though.
Yeah, we're arguing over the same top 5
Yep.
albums. It's actually 4.
No,
really,
it's 2.
We had the same top
5.
1.
Right, true.
Right. I mean, I still think I had it as B.
Yeah,
it's not like I rated it as a D. Be like, that's the stupidest album ever. Like, it's
right.
just, varying degrees of goodness, right? So
yeah, it's all incredible. I still love
funny.
All 5 of them. Like I said, amazing. It's really hard to kind of pick those 5 albums apart, in my opinion. I love them all. I love a lot of the songs. Just
and part of that's what we do, right? Like,
Yep.
I'm trying to look for things that
Yep.
that I don't like, so I can have a couple things to talk about that I don't like. So it's not like I'm not making them up, but I'm actually looking for that stuff. Where if I'm
Right.
just putting it on, I'm not really looking for that. I'm like, okay,
Sure.
yeah, here comes Suicide Note Part 1. I know this is going to drag on for a bit, but I'm probably still not really skipping it.
Right.
No,
so, you're right. Yeah, you're right.
It's just, you got to look for stuff, So otherwise, hey, send her a boat. Yeah, we'll send a helicopter or something, but everything goes down in the Bermuda Triangle, so that's why I don't know that we'll ever be able to get to them.
Just
push
a
hurricanes boat out there, man.
Push a boat with some batteries for my CD player or whatever I have out there, so I can keep listening to tunes on my island. Maybe
we'll send you a
water.
message in a bottle. We'll try that first, and then when you send a message back, maybe we can find them.
Okay, I appreciate that. Also, I want to throw in. They released the live album between Reinventing the Steel and Great Southern Trendkill called Official Live 101 Proof.
Yes.
I played this album to death, so
Yeah.
I want to give it a shout out. It's a fantastic live album, probably one of my favorites.
It is. There's a lot of live stuff out there of them now that has come out later on, but yeah, that one when it came out in the middle here, you're like, because like I said, their live show was just, legendary, and you're like, wait, they're putting out a live album? Wait, what? So yeah, it was awesome. I think they did a tour for it too, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe they did, yeah.
I think that's when they came to Nautica and it sold out, and I went down there and I had to get tickets from some guy who I didn't even know if they were legit. That was one of the few times I've actually just bought them from some dude selling them standing outside of the venue, But hey, they worked and I got in. So
excellent.
Yeah, I think that was the 101 Proof tour or something. That wasn't even for Trendkill. It was for the live album. But yeah, there was 4 years in between, so I'm sure they probably did do that. But
yeah, it was excellent.
Fantastic live album. Yeah, way up there. Probably top 5 live album ever for me.
Yeah, it really kind of stood out how we talked a lot about Dimebag, and rightfully so, but live, man, how much Rex carries the rhythm section when he's soloing. I think he deserves a lot of credit for that because because he does all the guitar work. It's a one guitar band. He does everything on the records.
Yep.
But live, like he can only do the riff and then he can only do the solo. He can't do the other stuff, and Rex kills it. He absolutely kills it. You could hear.
You can definitely tell that, on the live album too. You can definitely tell how much Rex has to pick up the rest of the groove there, while Dime's off in, Dime Land doing Dime things.
Exactly.
So it's really fantastic. He's really an underrated member of this band. I feel like he doesn't get, because Vinny and Dime are brothers and they were both fantastic, and Phil is just a kind of larger than life character kind of guy. Like everybody has an opinion on Phil one way or the other. Everybody knows who he is. Like Rex is kind of the forgotten guy, but he's fantastic.
Fantastic.
He really is a good bass player.
Yep. All right. Well, good show again, partner.
Great stuff, man.
Yeah, so fun. And want to thank John Novak for jumping in and hanging out with us. We appreciate you, bud.
Way to go, Johnny.
Yep, appreciate you. So next week, we're going to start a 2-part series on the Legends from Europe Queen.
It is.
So
Queen Part 1 and Queen Part 2.
Yeah, we got to cut that up. There's just way too many albums, and we are trying to, especially with the holiday here, we would definitely want to give ourselves a break and not go through whatever 16, 17 albums, whatever they have. So looking forward to that. And so we'll do 2 parts of that. Otherwise, I think that's about it. I just want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving out there. I hope you all get to hang out with your families and eat a lot of yummy food. So that'll be fun. Any big plans, partner? You hanging out with family?
Yep. Going to Kelly's parents' house, and there'll be the usual. I think we usually have 18. I think there's going to be 15 there. So 3 are going to a different Thanksgiving dinner. But yeah, it'll be fun. We'll be watching football and eating way too much food like everybody else.
Heck yeah. That's what you got to do.
That's right. So I won't be listening to Queen much on Thursday.
No, that's okay.
Yeah, so
it might put you to sleep anyway with all that food.
Yeah, I don't need any help with that, with all the food. So.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Yeah, happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Yep. Thanks for listening. Again, check us out, social medias. Check us out on YouTube. Check us out on Spotify. Check us out on Apple. We would love to hear from you, your comments, and definitely like this video if you watch it. If you like it, leave a comment. We would love to talk with you.
Don't you gotta smash buttons or something? I hear people say,
yeah, smash
the likes and the favorites and subscribes and stuff.
So yeah, show us some love, people. Show us some love.
Yeah.
But all right, well, thanks again, everybody, for listening.
Yep.
And we will see you in the next one.
Yep, rock on.
Looks like you've been missing a lot of work lately.
I wouldn't say I've been missing it, Bob.
What would you say you do here?
God damn it. Bob, we love playing here tonight. My brother's ready.
It helps if you think of it as a game. Every game has a winner a loser.
You must possess strength to inflict pain, Bob.